morning. This is Duncan here reporting for MG Stories, and we're right at the start of a rather large task because we're commencing the engine and gearbox removal from this MGBGTV8. The gearbox needs quite a lot of TLC. A bit of diagnostics a few days ago with my buddy Joe concluded that the car is stuck in fourth gear, even though the gear stick thinks that it's in neutral. So it all has to come out, and then we're going to be replacing some parts on it. So this is all about the removal, and I am experimenting with time-lapse video for the first time. I've got a unit attached to the wall here, just a very simple cradle for the iPhone, and a bit of software that I've just purchased, so we're going to give it a go. So enjoy the show. I'll try and not make it too boring and too long, but this is all about the engine removal. First of which is dismantling a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to be taking the front off as well because I'm going to be doing some bits and pieces behind the grille. There's an oil cooler to come off and lines to take out there, and I'm going to be doing some work on the front grille anyway. But yes, here goes. Enjoy the show. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I've put the same clothes again on so that the video looks like it's all in one go, but it is actually a number of days later. So in the spirit of straightforwardness and honesty, I'm confessing that I put the same clothes back on. But I've made good progress. The engine isn't quite ready for removal yet, but as you can see, we've taken a bunch of the parts out. We've got the all the air filters off, the radiator out. The front, I've actually taken the front grille off because we're going to be doing a couple of bits there. But now I'm into unbolting the exhaust manifold. And the exhaust manifold is called a block hugger because the manifold comes out of the engine block and immediately dips down and follows the line of the V8 engine as it goes under the car. But it means that the few bolts here are really awkward to get out. They're actually a bit easier than they were before because my buddy Joe, when he put those in, used proper bolts to go in, whereas before they were hex bolts, so they were really flipping nasty to get out. But in order to stop the bolts from unscrewing, Joe, in his infinite wisdom, which I mean seriously, put these little brackets in that fold over tabs that stop the bolts from undoing themselves. But now I have to put the tabs back. So although these look easy, they are relatively. But the two nightmare ones, there's a bolt under there and a bolt under there on the other side that you have to have 7-inch long fingers, but really, really thin and really, really dexterous and really, really strong. So it's a combination of a few different techniques that will be used to get these bolts undone. So when the bolts come undone, we've got to get the going to be taking the steering rack out as well, because in order to get the exhaust manifold off this side, it won't actually come out with the steering column there. So that means the column has to come out, and Joe has spotted something wrong on the fitment of the steering column, the way it goes up there. It rubs on some metal, so it's all going to come out anyway. So that's the job next. So I'm still experimenting with the time-lapse video. So if you've watched this far, you might have seen the time-lapse video, and it might have been a little bit slow because what the time-lapse video is actually doing is taking a photograph every X seconds, and I stitch it all together. And it's still a bit slow, so this one's going to be even quicker. And we'll see how we do. So enjoy it. If you see me moving really quickly, it's not me really, it's a time lapse. So check in a bit. Enjoy the show. Hello, this is Duncan reporting for MG Stories. And no, this isn't a weather forecast. It's snowing, but you didn't come here to see the weather. You came here to see car stuff. So we're going to go in the garage. Well, hopefully by the time you see this, some of my stop motion would have worked and you'll have seen some messing around with me with my head under the bonnet of the car, taking things apart and prepping to get the engine removed. And the engine isn't out yet, but I'm really pleased with the progress because despite what you might think, there's a whole ton of this stuff I've never done before. And I've seen it done and I've helped others do it, but I've never done it myself. So progress so far, and I'm going to take you to the pieces first so you know what I'm talking about. We have got the front grille off. That's an easy one. That's just a few bolts. We've got the exhaust manifold. Those are off, and that took quite a bit of doing. I'll explain in a minute. Got the steering rack off. That's this bit here. So for those of you tuning in that are not into cars, the steering rack translates the turning of the wheel to the turning of the steering wheel to the angle of the wheels. And this had to come out because there's not a lot of room under the bonnet of my car. With the V8 engine, it crams it in a little bit. So in order to get the exhaust manifolds off, which have to come off before you can lift the engine out, I had to get the steering rack off and the starter motor as well. So now, welcome to the underside of my car. And I'm going to angle it down now so you can see the view. And once again, I'm very privileged to be able to lift the car up in the air because taking an engine out without a lift is a bit horrible. So here is where we have the area of the steering rack. It bolts onto these things. These are called track rod ends on here. So it bolts onto there, then the whole rack itself bolts onto there. And then can you see that hole through there? That goes all the way up to the steering wheel, right through there. And all that's come out. So I've taken the headers are off and the extra bit of the exhaust pipe is off as well because all this is coming out. This is called the clutch slave cylinder. And that's come off because that normally bolts onto the gearbox there. And it's the pressing in of that piston there, when I press the clutch in, that disengages the engine from the gearbox when you're changing gear. If you remember changing gear, all the automatics we've got around today. A couple of other things I've done under here as well is I've disconnected the drive shaft. So this is right at the back of the overdrive and gearbox. Overdrive is an extra gear. I won't go into details on that, but that has disconnected there so that when the engine starts to come out, that will stay and all that starts to get moved out there. This has to come off. This is a support cross member for the gearbox itself. So I'll be undoing a couple of bolts there, then undoing all of that. And then after that, the gearbox starts to come out. So I'm pausing now because I've just done a bunch of work to take some stuff apart. I've been doing lots of labeling of the parts that have come out. I've taken the gear stick off. And that meant that I had to take some bolts out of there because if you try and pull the engine and gearbox out where the gear stick is, with the gear stick still in, you manage to get it out about an inch and then you get stuck. And then you can see all this, look at all this good labeling here. So this is all of the bolts and things that have come off so far. So I think I'm going to be doing an edit on this video and publishing it because although a lot of car shows will just show engine removal all in one go, I'm not that good and I'm not that quick. So I'm going to probably post this one just so you've got something to look at. Because I know you're just sitting around dying to watch my videos. I'm joking, you've got better things to do. But I want to try out this stop motion thing that I've been playing with, and hopefully it shows some Duncan whizzing around the garage and getting some stuff done. So next step is the unbolting of that. And then this contraption here, thank you very much, Joe, comes into its own. Joe, you'll notice it's a lot cleaner than when I got it because I can't have anything yellow in my garage or orange that isn't all shiny. So I've done the best I can for you, buddy. But this starts to come into play because it's this hoist here that gets used to pull the engine and gearbox out of the car. That's coming next. In the meantime, time for some food. This is Duncan for MG Stories. Back to the studio.